What's up, you all? Today we're reacting to Mortal Kombat 1, the huge multiverse problem. Now, me personally, I don't hate the multiverse. I do think there's a lot of pros and cons, and so I want to see if this video is really going to go through, so let's go ahead and check it out. Chaos Reigns is kind of a mixed bag also, and I think the multiverse in general within Mortal Kombat, at least with 11 and 1, of course, is a mixed bag for a lot of people.
One of the biggest topics that has come out of it all has been the very controversial inclusion of the multiverse, as well as its ramifications on the overall MK mythos. Because whilst it does open up the canon, this pull of such a creative decision has led to quite a negative reception.
Yeah, the Armageddon ending of even the base story was kind of still a mixed bag. Also, at least in my opinion too, because it felt kind of rushed. And it felt like that ideas are getting very... I mean, it is hard. At the end of the day, Mortal Kombat was the first actual fighting game to give a real story with Mortal Kombat 9. So, in terms of fighting game genres. So, this ending was a little vanilla.
From the fandom. And understandably so, for a number of different reasons. So, when was the first instance of the multiverse within the MK mythos? Well, the very first bit of its canonical implementation would be in Mortal Kombat 11. Yes. Whilst the series has of course played with time travel and arcade ladder endings, it wouldn't be up until the story of Mortal Kombat 11 where such an idea had incredible significance and actually did play a part within the main canon, showing how deep and how twisted.
I felt 11 was pretty solid. I just didn't really like 1 being a continuation of 11, but I don't know, man. Let's just see what he says.
Kronika's threads really tangled through time. It was sinister and intriguing, but most importantly, merely a minor footnote in the grand calculus of this overall narrative. Plus, they did have the added benefit that this was coming at the tail end of a timeline. Thus, with a reboot in mind, such a plot point could merely fade into the background. However, this would more or less wind up being Pandora's box. Because, admittedly, whilst it is quite cool that now every ladder ending had some real significance and meaning, it did
that ending, I'm sorry, man, that Kung Lao ending and then what we're getting in Mortal Kombat 1 is crazy.
Complicates an otherwise simple and streamlined formula. It opened up so many variables and possibilities that canon started to kind of become a bit flaky, but with of course the most bitter pill to swallow being that we couldn't follow a particular ending that we enjoyed. It's a double-edged blade, and whilst I say it's an interesting concept, time travel is arguably the furthest the series should have ever gone in that direction.
I agree.
So, there is a distinct difference in how the multiverse angle is handled from 11 to 1. 11 has it so it's a fleeting passing moment of narrative significance, whereas 11 has it actively interfering with the main plot, detracting from an otherwise very isolated, streamlined, and focused plot. So,
see, when we got Mortal Kombat 1, we thought we were essentially just getting its own story, and that's what I was hoping for. All of us were hoping just like the timeline traveling is over, the multiverse is done. I still don't understand why they continued it. I mean, I said this in my other video also, like how many times has Mario saved Princess Peach from Bowser? Like, you're gonna tell me we can't just have somewhat of a reboot story with Shao Kahn again, just at the minimal? I mean, you can bring any other bad person. That's why the Deadly Alliance is in part 1, but or in this new game. So I don't know.
Say what you will about the newer iterations of characters, but it's quite safe to say that right out the gate, almost everyone unanimously agrees that the first 9 chapters of the story are very compelling, which
they're very good.
Made the whole multiverse arc and subplot that much more jarring, as it detracted from both the quality and the direction of which this new foundation had been forged upon. I mean, hell, it was even advertised as a fresh new slate, not burdened, not tied to the foundation of the past. Say what you will about the quality of Chaos Reigns, but at least it was very transparent with what it was about, even if the ground laid beneath it was very flawed in design. So this brings us onto another persisting issue, and that is timeline variance. And look, this is actually something I myself do have an issue with. You see, to me in the MK universe, I'm not a fan of legacy characters. Ones that are designed to fill in a role of a predecessor without adding anything new to the formula. It makes it very unfair for the new character, whilst also placing an unfair burden on their shoulders. There's only been very few instances where this has worked. Like, as an example, say what you will about Cassie Cage, but at least she had her own distinct personality. Jackie, on the other hand, is a perfect example of this going completely wrong, being far too flat in terms of character and origin to stand out from her father. But why am I bringing this up? How exactly does this relate?
And the Kombat kids in general, I thought were decent. And again, yes, we do need new characters. I'm not saying take away legacy characters. That's what puts money in their pockets. But it's always good to have like some character arc that's well deserving. Don't just give any new characters anything, but give a character that's deserving to be in the breath of these legacy players or these legacy characters.
To the multiverse issue. Well, this is largely the same perspective I do actually share with multiverse variants, because there's a ton of issues that do come into play when it comes to the MK mythos. First and foremost, the importance and significance of characters. You see, once you open up the floodgates of having a multitude of different variants of the same character, you do effectively water down just how unique they are to the universe. Like, Liu Kang narratively is written as the chosen one, but if you introduce 50 other versions of the same character interwoven within the same narrative, that chosen one title doesn't quite feel as significant anymore, does it? It feels watered down and less important. And this issue isn't exclusive to that of Liu. Having multiple versions and variants of characters can really rip away character individuality, especially if they are not.
I get what he's saying. I don't hate it, but I do think it messes away like with the dominance and the uniqueness for sure.
Not handled well. I think a good example of this difference is the contrast between Hanzo and Takeda, as well as Sub-Zero and Frost. Takeda's sense of character, individuality, and personality allows him to stand on his own legs out of Hanzo's shadow, whereas Frost is completely eclipsed by it, having always struggled to stray away from Sub-Zero's side. Really, these next generation of characters and multiverse characters kind of all sit under the same umbrella for me, because it's how they're ultimately handled that allows them to sit on their own two legs.
The Rain and Tanya was dope.
Rain and Empress Tanya are the perfect examples of this. Ones that can paint these characters in a better light, but make the ones in the main current canon look far worse for it. Another prevalent factor and issue surrounding this is the significance of death. And now, look guys, let's not be ridiculous here. Death always has and always will be a writing issue with MK, because dying never really sticks. It's a flesh wound. But one worrying issue that has surfaced from the multiverse story is that people are worried that timeline variants will simply stroll in and replace a dead character now, thus replacing them whilst also being able to retain the status of dead.
It's real like safe writing when you do multiverse stuff, in my opinion. It's if you kind of mess up, you can kind of make up for it over here and just throw it over here. Like the Tanya Rain push was really good. It's like you can create multiple, I mean, exactly what it sounds, right? It's a multiverse. It's not just multiple timelines, but multiple plots, different scenes, different things going on everywhere. I feel it's good and bad because you can make cool shit going on over here while this is kind of mundane. If this gets kind of boring and played out, I can do something way over here on the other side. Like, I don't know. It's just a lot of shit going on. That's good and bad.
I don't really see this one sticking. Whilst the threat is most certainly there, MK has always been able to pull some of its most interesting stories through death. So I don't think that such a direction will be taken, nor should it actually be something explored. There's so much creativity on the table from these things that I don't think we should jump the gun just yet. Now, we gotta get a little bit meta, because whilst I do think we have been pretty critical of the multiverse direction, I don't think it's entirely MK's fault. I agree. It is, but I do find it to be a victim of following a trend.
This is what I say in every video, y'all. I say this in every video. I'm like, go ahead and fix myself. The multiverse with MK is just them simply following what Hollywood's doing right now anyway.
You see, the mainstream overuse and saturation of the multiverse is what I believe has led to such a negative reception. Because honestly, it's everywhere. And mainstream media it's kind of cooked this idea. Whilst it's cool to have a cohesive and interwoven experience, it places a lot of weight on the audience who are simply there to experience the game, not the franchise. And
it could have to do with attention spans also, like what I said earlier, just like multiple things going on at once, people having technically brain rot these days. I think they're just they don't want no dead space, so they're just like constantly putting shit in there.
Series that have this included.
That's everybody in Hollywood storytelling right now too.
The time travel stuff in Mortal Kombat
people don't want to sit through shit anymore.
MacGuffin to reboot the series. Did it really make sense for a character like Raiden to be able to pull off such a thing? No, but it is largely overlooked for what it did. And it definitely feels like they tried to do the same thing here with
when he hit the vision.
Kang and the Multiverse arc. But it's far too ambitious for a series that is already drowning in untapped lore. That's why fans weren't into the Multiverse arc. Because there's a disconnect between what the fans want and what direction the series should go. So, how do we fix it? Well, something I have been seeing
a reboot, just a fresh start.
To reboot it again. And I'm gonna have to be real with all of you. I don't think that's a wise choice. If I'm honest, we've already rebooted too much as is. The MK9 thing, it kind of made sense. What they did for 11 though, not so much. Rebooting again could 1, put us in the same place, and 2, if you think about it, does actually play into the very thing we don't want, adding more variants and more variables to the whole multiverse issue.
I think rebooting with just a flatline story, just work y'all's asses off and just try to make something. It's not gonna be perfect, but Multiverse, in my opinion, is very lazy and it's very a safety net, so you can kind of just have the freedom to do whatever you want. Oh, we fucked up here. All right, well, let's make it just a time travel. Let's unravel this, and let's do this. And let's go over here and bring this person on board. And even if it's a different variance of the character, it's still there, the same character, like the Johnny Cage aspect and everything. I'm not going to spoil any of the story, but I think a reboot with just a flatline type story, no traveling, no gimmicks, no getaways, no safety nets. Write yourself a story, and I think that will help, but it will probably put us back. MK9 was just amazing. I loved it.
So I don't find that to be a wise direction to go in. Thus,
which is unique.
I believe to be the better alternative. Well, I believe what we should do is maintain the current continuity, because it shows confidence in the new direction and vision, but to also apply narrative adjustments to tinker up some things that people have an issue with. I think this would be a good first step in the right direction. And the second is to completely erase the multiverse stuff. Like get rid of timelines, time travels, variants, the whole shebang. We've tried it for 2 games now, and it simply hasn't landed. So, how do we get rid of such an idea? Well, if you think about it, it all goes back to the hourglass of time. We have to take the MacGuffin out of the picture, and there is only one character that can do this. Geras. With the Warden Eternal now in care of the hourglass, it does actually allow it to be completely written out, as it's no longer in the care of the main cast, and does allow some narrative freedom from the multiverse threads. Especially with Titan, Shang Tsung, and Havoc.
So yeah, I agree with that. I don't really mean like a reboot. I just mean overall just stop the multiverse and make it a story after this. All right, we tried it twice. Let's just keep going with just a story now. Since like the ending like basically is Noob and Sector still trying to find somewhat revenge. Keep it like that. Make Noob even stronger and stronger. Keep going with that. Make Bihan still Bihan. Give him more lines. Delia lines, maybe make them a little bit stronger. Keep it moving that way maybe. I don't know, man. Just no more multiverse stuff, man. I don't want to see multitudes of that.
It's just that the most unfortunate part of this is that for us to achieve such a goal, we essentially have to write Geras out completely. But if he is the Fade, then I'm glad it's being done in a way that 1, elevates him, and 2, does add some real significance to him within the lore, forever at the center of the universe, holding it together. I think that this is what really needs to be done in order to kind of course correct Mortal Kombat 1's direction. Because whilst I do think the multiverse stuff did add some interesting things conceptually, In terms of what it did to the narrative, it's kind of like throwing spaghetti into a fan. It's all over the place, and it's just an absolute mess.
Yes.
So
again, possibly intentionally and purposely they did that though, because attention spans these days and their audiences are just all over the place now, right? There's older audiences, younger audiences that watch Mortal Kombat. I think they intentionally did it, and also just like overall, just people just don't pay attention to shit, don't want to sit through dead space or plots anymore. They just want everything action and active going everywhere.
Said everyone, what are your own personal thoughts and feelings on the whole multiverse arc? Because no doubt this is gonna stir up some pretty interesting conversation.
Oh yeah.
But it's honestly something I kind of want to see. Mortal Kombat means a lot to us in a lot of different ways.
Facts.
But I think one thing we can all kind of unanimously agree about is that the multiverse stuff is simply something a bit too out there for the foundation of the franchise.
Yes, and so he ends it right there, I guess, I'm assuming. And what I'm going to say to really wrap this video up is, I think Multiverse is a great idea to make a story ever so expansive, because the ideas are going to be limitless. It's easy to pitch that, oh, let's do this timeline story or this multiverse type story, because everything's limitless. We can expand our stories, go wherever we want, go this way, go this way, go this way. But it's like what he said earlier, that it's like throwing spaghetti at a fan. It's just scattered everywhere. We don't know what's going on. So I really enjoy this, and I think that it's not a great idea to continue with the multiverse. I feel that Mortal Kombat 1 should have been the end of the multiverse, and not really a reboot, but a fresh start. Now that all that happened, they're explaining, now this next, whatever happens after this, whether it's a new expansion or just the next Mortal Kombat 2, I hope they just go with a flatline story and just move forward with that. Like, everything's already been refreshed to the most extent now. Everybody has their own names. Like Cyrax, like there are girls now, like, you know, from everyone, Kuai Lang, all that. So everything's different now. So at least for the most part. But yeah, y'all let me know what's up, man. I'm excited. I really want Mortal Kombat to get back to a cool feeling story like Mortal Kombat 9. And so I hope they continuously move forward with that, man. I appreciate y'all. Peace. And drop your thoughts. Yay.